You know guys, I gotta say, with every video game adaptation that has come out as of recently, they seem to be getting slightly better and better. But now with Monster Hunter, I must ask one question. Who directed this one? So Monster Hunter is the latest film to be based on a video game franchise, and in this case it's based on Monster Hunter. And in Monster Hunter, we follow Captain Natalie Artemis, portrayed by Milla Jovovich, as after her and her team of US Army Rangers, they go into this portal, they find themselves in this new place called the New World. And not too long into the New World, her and her team, for the lack of a better term, find themselves separated. And after quite some time, she ends up teaming up with the Hunter, played by Tony Jaa, to help her get back into her own world. Alrighty guys, so let's get into Monster Hunter.
Excellent!
Believe it or not guys, this movie isn't a complete dumpster fire, as there were actually two small redeemable aspects about this movie. I know, seriously, shocking. First of which being the designs of the weapons and the monsters. I gotta give them credit here, guys. They actually did do a pretty good job of keeping the designs of the weapons and the monsters from the video games. They look pretty darn good. And the other thing being that Tony Jaa is by far the most interesting character of this entire film. Too bad they didn't do anything with him, though.
Well, that's just fucking great!
Okay. Here we go. I was not looking forward to this movie whatsoever, and it didn't help even more so knowing that Paul W.S. Anderson had wrote and directed this movie, because for those of you who know me personally, I am not a fan of this guy. Now, before I continue, I will give credit where credit is due. Ironically enough, Mortal Kombat is my favorite video game adaptation of all time, and I thought the first Resident Evil film was pretty decent. However, everything after that, I have either really disliked or I have hated. And for those of you who know me personally, know that I absolutely despise Resident Evil: The Final Chapter. In fact, that is one of my most hated films of all time. And with that being said, I want to end that talk right there before I get any more livid about that movie once again. So knowing that he was making Monster Hunter, I got a little more than worried, to say the least. I am not a diehard fan of Monster Hunter like I am a diehard fan of Resident Evil. I consider myself more of a casual fan because I have not played all the Monster Hunter games. I mean, I've played Monster Hunter from the PS2, I played either Generations or Ultimate on the 3DS, and I am currently playing, actually, Monster Hunter World, which is a terrific game. I don't know how I can segue into this, so I'm just gonna cut right to the point here. This movie, guys, for the lack of a better term, oh my god. How Paul W.S. Anderson keeps getting the rights to these video games, and how he keeps getting funding to make these movies, is beyond me. This movie is fucking garbage. First of all, starting off with the performances, Milla Jovovich in this movie. Oh my god. Milla Jovovich, from what I have seen in her previous films, from what I have seen, she can give good performances. Like, for example, The Fifth Element. I haven't seen it, but it's a movie called The Perfect Getaway, I think. I heard she was quite good in it. I don't know if it was her or if it was Paul W.S. Anderson's direction, but either way, Milla Jovovich gives probably one of the worst performances I have seen all year. She portrays one of the most generic army soldiers I have seen in a movie in a long time. And it doesn't help even more so knowing that when it came to her character development, there is really nothing. The most that we get from her in this movie is her looking at a picture of her family and saying, "I'm gonna go home." That's it. I could have cared less if she died. Seriously, I did not give a shit about her character whatsoever. One of the biggest mistakes about this movie is this, and you guys are not going to believe this. This movie would rather choose to focus on this generic soldier rather than, I don't know, the Hunter played by Tony Jaa. Tony fucking Jaa? Who made this decision? Oh yeah, Paul W.S. Anderson did. Going into Tony Jaa, he is not much better than Milla Jovovich in this movie. In fact, the Hunter character in Monster Hunter, to be fair, if you have played any of the Monster Hunter games, the Hunter is essentially you. The Hunter could be male or female, and the Hunter character doesn't really have a backstory, to be fair. But here's the thing. They could have at least done something with his character. Something. If you've played the Monster Hunter games, you would know that especially in Monster Hunter World, each hunter comes with, I think, a Palico, which is a cat companion. Tony Jaa's character, the Hunter, has no cat companion whatsoever. When it came to the chemistry between Tony Jaa and Milla Jovovich, it seemed like they were trying to do something, but I could give two shits about these guys, seriously. And by the way, I feel like I should mention this as well. When it came to Captain Artemis's army team, you don't give really two shits about any of them because, let's face it, they're there to be slaughtered. Ron Perlman is in this movie. Yes, let me repeat that. Ron Perlman is in this movie. And he has probably just look at this wig right here. That has to be probably the most ridiculous wig I have seen on Ron Perlman. What could have made this movie just a slight bit better? Take out Milla Jovovich and concentrate on not only the Hunter, but also his team. By the way, I feel like I should mention this. There are other monster hunters in this movie, but again, you could care less about them. When it comes to the plot of Monster Hunter, tell me how many times you have heard this plot in other movies. A person, or a team for that matter, find themselves entering a world to an unknown world, and after something happens to that person's team, that said person teams up with a person from that world who helps them get back to their world. Seriously, how many times have you seen that plot in a movie? Probably millions, right? Now, to be fair, I will say this. When it comes to the plot of Monster Hunter and any of the games, there really isn't a plot from what I remember, because all you do is that in Monster Hunter in the games, you go around either by yourself or with a team and you hunt monsters, aka Monster Hunter. In this movie, there's no monster hunting at all. Yeah, let me repeat that. In a movie called Monster Hunter, they don't hunt monsters. Well, to be fair, no, they hunt a Diablos, but they don't fucking hunt monsters. This specific plot has been used so many times in other movies, and Paul W.S. Anderson doesn't bother to do anything new with it. And what do we get here is this generic ass video game adaptation that really deserves so much better. And by the way, I'm not even close to being done yet. This movie, for I want to say about 95% of it, takes place in a desert region, aka I believe in the games, I think they were called desert regions, where, I don't know, they could have maybe taken place in the fucking village from the video games. When it came to them hunting a Diablos, I mean, it wasn't even that exciting. To be fair, and I cannot believe I'm saying this, to give credit where credit is due, Paul W.S. Anderson himself did say that it is hard to put hours upon hours upon hours of content into a movie. But here's the thing, when your movie is less than 2 hours, right there, that is a huge problem. Getting into the action sequences, this movie's action is nowhere as exciting as it should be, especially when it comes to the hand-to-hand combat scenes. Oh my god, the hand-to-hand combat sequences. The hand-to-hand combat sequences have some of the worst action editing that I have seen since, surprisingly enough, Resident Evil: The Final Chapter, which was directed by Paul W.S. Anderson. Here's something really sad about the film's hand-to-hand combat sequences. Like I mentioned beforehand, this movie has Tony fucking Jaa in it. If you have seen his action sequences in other movies, especially from The Protectorate, which, by the way, check out his one-shot fight sequence in that movie. It's absolutely incredible. You all know that he is more than capable of doing his own stunts. Where here, they don't even bother to utilize him at all in this movie. So what happens as a result of his hand-to-hand combat sequences with Milla Jovovich? It is just quick cutting bullshit throughout the entire thing. It got so bad to the point where I actually ended up counting the cuts for a simple move happening. It's not just with the action sequences, but just the editing in general. For some reason, what they'll do from time to time is they'll just do these weird fade in and fade outs that really did nothing for this movie whatsoever. When it came to the CG, even though the designs of the monsters look fairly good, the monsters' CG was terrible. And when you see a very well-known creature from the video games, you will all know what I'm talking about. When you see this thing, it looks so damn terrible. And by the way, the sequence involving that thing is not even exciting at all. And by the way, something else I should mention, when it comes to the music of this movie, I forgot who the composer was, so I'll put his name right there, or their name, but the music does not fit Monster Hunter at all. And worst of all, this movie's ending sets up for a sequel. For the love of God, no.
And here we go.
So overall, as you all could have probably expected, Monster Hunter is garbage. This movie does have one or two redeemable aspects, but to cut to the chase, Monster Hunter is full of uninteresting characters, it's hollow, they choose to focus on some generic character rather than the freaking hunter, but the biggest thing about this movie is that it has a plot that has nothing to do with the main goal of the games, to hunt monsters. Video game adaptations before Monster Hunter seemed like they were getting slightly better and better, but now with Monster Hunter, this movie takes video game adaptations 10 steps backwards. I don't know how Paul W.S. Anderson got the rights to this, nor do I know or understand for that matter how he got the funding to make this movie. Paul W.S. Anderson, stay the hell away from making any more video game adaptations. So all in all, I'm going to give Monster Hunter a 0.25 out of 5 stars. The only reason why it is not get a 0 is because of the designs of the monsters and the weapons. Otherwise, guys, nonetheless, stay away from this movie. Alrighty guys, so comment down below and let me know if you guys have played any of the Monster Hunter games, which one is your favorite? Let me know below. If you guys want to follow me on social media, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. I'm also on Snapchat and Stardust, so if you guys want to follow me on any of those social media platforms, all the links and the usernames are in the description below. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of Monster Hunter. If so, please hit that like button, also subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell for whenever the latest video of mine goes live. If you guys want to see any of my previous 2 videos, please click on the right there or there. And of course, until my next review, I will see you guys next time.